I've heard people say she's smart because she's mixed, she's etc. because she's mixed. It's as though it's like all these values only come because I'm mixed, hence why I am the way that I am. You know, it's not for anything that is like built up from myself.
Hey everyone, I'm Gwen. I guess I'm kind of biracial in the sense that my mom is actually mixed, so she's half white, half Chinese, and my dad is Chinese.
I'm Narvina, you can call me Narvi for short. My dad, he is either second or third generation Indian, a Chettiar Indian, whereas my mom, she is third generation Chinese.
My name is Maria Magdalena Muhammad Azhar. I am of Malay race, mixed with Kenya, and also a bit of Japanese and also Javanese.
My name is John, and I'm a Chindian.
Oh really? Somehow the first thing they ask is, oh, you speak Mandarin, is it? I don't know why, that's almost always the first question that they would ask.
They would either say, oh, are you Chinese? Or you orang Sarawak ke? Are you Sarawakian? So I would say, yeah, I am.
Most people think I'm Malay. I've been mistaken many times, too many times, even on during Ramadan.
It's normally a situation where like they'll wonder, why do I only speak English? Then they'll be like, are you mixed? I'll be like, oh yeah, my mom is like mixed, so kinda, sort of.
I guess it's pretty easy to tell that I'm mixed, especially when I was little, because I used to be a lot fairer.
You know, then they'll ask my racial composition.
So I would tell them all of my family history down to my family tree.
And they'd be like, oh, are you more Chinese or are you more Indian? As if like I had to choose between one or the two.
Discrimination, I wouldn't say, not so much lah, because I would say that my Malay features outstands more than my Kenyal features, so people can more or less make out that, oh, she is actually Malay. So yeah, I don't face discrimination because of that, but I did go through some bullyings and also personal attacks because of my mixed race lah. Because I live in a predominantly Malay neighborhood, so when I go to a primary school that's mostly all Malay kids, it's not a normal sight now. Like, oh, look at this weird girl. She's a bit fairer than all of us, and then her name is Maria Magdalena. Some of the boys would find out my full name and they would tease me lah. They would call me McDonald. I know it's silly, but it was enough to make me cry lah.
They'll be like, oh, how come you're Chinese but you don't speak Chinese? And I used to be shamed for that like a lot in high school because they would think that I'm arrogant because I only spoke English, which is ridiculous. It's like, I'm at the disadvantage. You know 2 languages, I only know 1.
When I went to Chinese school and I was hitting puberty, so I was growing a lot of hair. A lot of the Chinese peers do not understand that. To them, it's like, wow, you're so hairy. And like, it's almost like a constant bullying at that point. Every day you just get reminded that how hairy you are, and it just makes you feel like you don't fit in.
I've heard people say she's smart because she's mixed, she's etc. because she's mixed. It's as though it's like all these values only come because I'm mixed, hence why I am the way that I am. You know, it's not for anything that is like, you know, built up from myself. I think that's what you call a backhanded compliment lah. So it's like offensive upon the first thought, and then now I'm just like, it's just people's natural reactions, I guess.
You just gotta be very patient because not everyone is exposed to mixed mixed marriages and all this. To them, you're either this or this, but like sometimes you're mixed in between.
I would say just embrace it. You're put on the spotlight, yes, but you know, there's nothing wrong with being questioned. People are generally just curious. They just want to know, so just tell them and educate them.
There's no right or wrong way to kind of approach these things, and even personally for me as well, when I hear these things, probably when I was younger, I would get offended and I would like retaliate and say like, oh, it's only because I'm mixed, that's why I'm pretty, or that's why I'm smart and whatnot. Do you think if, let's say like, if I'm just like pure Indian, pure Chinese, am I not that? As I matured and as I grew up, I know that it doesn't come, whatever they say doesn't come from a place of malice. I personally don't think it's coming from a place of ill intent, probably like ill-informed maybe.
I would say a lot. The first one being the movie Sepet by the late Yasmin Ahmad. Oh, that made a very big impact towards my life because I didn't think that a relationship between a Malay girl and a Chinese boy is possible to be seen on the big screen.
I feel like in our community, media representation is very little. It's always very segregated.
I definitely see it more in Western media than Southeast Asian or local media, which is a big pity. I know even for Western media itself, I personally feel like I'm only increasingly seeing it more over the years.
It's so important to show because that is representative of real life. You don't walk around and see everybody with like the same race because that would be just weird. You know, love is love. You can't control like what race you love.
It's kind of like a back of the mind thing. It's not something that comes to the forefront, but I think like subconsciously when you see people in mixed relationships on the media, it kind of helps you paint the portrait that, this is obviously accepted, normal, it should be celebrated. Bi or multiculturalism is a thing and we shouldn't like run or shy away from it. I won't say there's like more pros or more cons, but it's just life.
I really wanted to talk about mixed marriages, mixed relationship in general. It is something very close to me. Not a lot of people understand the challenges, the discrimination that you face.
Actual like halfy babies, they get it so much worse because they definitely have like the struggle of like, who am I, right? For me, I think at a young age, I already figured out like, oh, I'm definitely more of this than I am of that. So I always just played to my strengths. I think your race, as much as it is a part of you, you being yourself is the most important thing.
There's no reason for me to identify with just one culture because by the end of the day, it's you identifying as yourself. You don't have to identify yourself with just one culture, especially if you are raised in a mixed race marriage, in a mixed race family.
It is important for me to still preserve that ethnic identity or your heritage and your practices as well, instead of just making everything homogeneous, making everything the same. I still believe you can have like 100 ethnic identities and still live in harmony with each other.
Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Mashable Southeast Asia and stay tuned for more videos.